Hi, I'm Graham from Second Era of Moles, and if you clicked on this video accidentally, 90 seconds is all I ever ask. Welcome back to another week that was on Pokemon Masters. It's been a busy one this week. We've had a bunch of new events land, so we've had Champion Stadium, we've had Battle Villa going on, we've had the time trial events with Rayhan and Leon, we've had Getsis and Curium join the game, we've had the Blissful Bonanza, there's still the egg event going on, there's still Rayquaza going on, there's been a weather survey event just dropped in the past few days, there's one more I'm forgetting, and it's the Aslith in the Legendary Arena. If I put them all around me, you wouldn't be able to see me at all. I'd be like batting them away, trying to get my face in there somehow. So let's start on the Champion Stadium. So at the start of every week, what I try and do is look through the conditions that you have for each round, and then look at the weaknesses that each of the Elite Four members have. And I try to look through it and come up with a bit of a plan of how I'm going to approach it. So for example, this week I saw that you had a physical attack boost and Lance was weak to steel types. And my thinking was, well, all of my steel type strikers are physical attackers, so that's going to be when I use that one. I looked at the sync boost and I thought, ooh, maybe you could get a 6x sync in there and then use Raichu as a sync nuker against Lorelei. I saw the stat lowering and that appealed to my usage of Mew against Bruno as a psychic type, and that left Agatha with the move gauge boost. I wasn't quite sure how to fit that one in. I felt like for me this was quite a sort of gritty, nuggety week, because a lot of the pairs you were facing off against had quite a strong sync move, and that didn't jive very well with the strength strategies that I've been using of late. I feel that where strength really comes into it is with the sync move, so it doesn't boost the attack that much, doesn't boost HP or defense that much, but when that sync move comes, you've got to be able to tank through it. And with some of them, you can. It's like it does 25% and you're fine, you just keep going. But this week, a lot of them had the potential to wipe 2 or 3 of your team members out with just one sync move, so it's kind of like, oh, got to get in there quickly and get to my sync move as fast as I can and take them out, or come up with a different strategy. So I will say at this stage that these strategies, they aren't flawless, they're not guaranteed to work every time. They're kind of, you're gonna need to take a few runs at it and everything's got to fall into place, but it will work eventually. In round 1, the boost that you get from using a sync move is doubled, so I really wanted to use Rosa to get that 6x sync move in there, and then use Raichu and Volkner to rain electric death down upon Lorelei. But in the end, I ended up with a team of Rotom and Alessa, Raichu and Hau, and Volkner and Luxray. And the reason for that is simple. Lorelei's sync move hit really hard. It was one-shotting Raichu and taking out Superior every time and leaving me with just Volkner, and there was no way Volkner was going to carry through the rest of the battle. And I couldn't quite manage to get my second sync move in there before she got her first one in there, either because I didn't have the timing right to get in there after my first sync move, or Superior was getting taken out and I was left one move short. So I had to resort to using Alessa to get Breathtaking and get that sync countdown reduction in there. And the eventual strategy was not too complex, so you raise Raichu's speed with Feel the Alolan Breeze, and then you're raising special attack with Alessa, you're setting Electric Field with Volkner, maybe doing some flinching in there. You hit with the sync move, Endless Summer Gigavolt, and that'll do a lot of damage. You're going to need 2 to take out Lorelei and Lapras in the middle, and the rest of it you're either setting Electric Field, you're Breathtaking, you're Discharge. So this week I actually went through twice and tried to refine my strategies a bit because I didn't think they were very good. The second time around I came up with a much better one. I went with a physical electric striker in this one with Zeb Streaker, and then the team around that was still Volkner, but Hilbert and Oshawott as the support in there. and that worked a lot better because Zebstreaker as a sync nuker worked a lot more effectively in this situation. You have Oshawott can raise attack, speed and crit hit rate, and I had inertia in Zebstreaker's grid, so that powers up sync move the more you've done the speed. I did panic a little bit towards the end. I could see that the enemy was coming up for their sync move, and I was like, oh, I don't want to risk using just a spark and leaving them with a tiny bit of health left so that they can unleash their sync move and do me in. So I panicked and I used a wild charge. I hadn't gridded Zebstreaker to have all of the stand fast that are up on the top right of her grid, so it took a lot out of me and I was down to like 75%. I managed to head off the sync move, but then one of the sides came in, and you know what they're like, they love their icy winds and their blizzards, and they are a bugger. So Zebstreaker fainted pretty much instantly from that, and I was relying on Oshawott to do some flinching and some little bit of evasiveness to carry through to the end like a true champion. In round 2 you get a physical attack boost, so I chose to take on Lance because my steel strikers are all doing physical damage, and I took in a team of Gloria, Delibird and Skyla. So with Delibird you're using X attack, you're using all the presents for the wildcard stat boost and also the move gauge increase. In the middle you're using Behemoth Blade all the way through. With Skyla you're using Take Flight and Gust if you have to. Skyla sinks first for the 6x. Then when it comes to the next sync move, remember that you've got Laser Sharp Focus. That's going to give you a crit hit guarantee. So I always try to make that my last move before I unleash Gloria's sync move. And that should be pretty much enough to take down Lance in the middle. When you're taking out the sides, I would always advise taking out Golem first, because Golem has Earthquake, the other side has Iron Head. Iron Head is going to hit you hard, but it can only hit one enemy at a time, so it's got to use 1, 2, 3 to take all of your team out. Whereas Golem can use Earthquake, and that's going to maybe take out your middle Pokemon in 1 or 2 moves. So if you go for Golem first and take him out first, that should leave you with enough time to turn your attention to the other side. It's Giganta something, but I can't remember the name. It evolves from Roggenrola. The second time around I went in with a team of Steven, Jasmine and the player with Pikachu. Obviously player Pikachu is a bit of a healer, Steven is the main damage dealer and Jasmine is your second support. She's raising defense, she's got Clang, you're doing Iron Heads. Remember that Metagross also has Bullet Punch, so if you're running low on your move gauge you can use a couple of them to get free moves in. Of those two strategies, I'd maybe lean towards the Steven one a little bit more. It just felt a little bit neater to me. I'm not sure why. And it means you can use Skyla elsewhere and she's one of your fantastic units anyway. Or she should be. If you're not using Skyla very much, you're doing something wrong. So round 3 is where I ran into the majority of my troubles this week. Your condition is the stat lowers are more effective. I chose to take on Bruno this first time around, and I went in with a team of Musharna, Mew and Xerneas. What I really wanted to do was set Electric Terrain, boost Musharna stats and just unload on everyone with stored power. Mew was in there with Swift, lowering everyone's attacks left, right and centre, and Xerneas was just tanking through. But I was getting reasonably close, but I just didn't have that last 2 or 3 moves to finish it off. But that was until I stumbled on the strategy that I should have been using all along, which was Mew's massive sync move. And it was doing like 11k damage, and I was like, that's what I should have been doing all along. Mew should have been my main striker, Musharna should have been secondary. And when I switched to doing that, I think it was either the first or second attempt I managed to pull through. So for this one, you want to watch out for Machamp, because he's a tricky bugger. He has Earthquake in this, which he can unleash and hit all of your Pokemon, and he'll sometimes do it before his sync move, sometimes he'll do it after. I felt this was a little bit unfair, because if he does his sync move and it's hit all of you once, and then he does an Earthquake, chances are that's either going to take out all of your team, or it's going to leave all of them very, very low on health, then you won't necessarily be able to top yourselves up. I always think those attacks that hit everyone should exclusively be for the side ones. And they do come from the sides. One side has Earthquake, the other side has Rock Slide. So it doesn't get any easier once you take out Machamp. So maybe you go for the side ones with your sync moves to take them out first and then focus on Machamp. And finally that leaves round 4. For round 4 you get a move gauge increase, so it tops up a lot more quickly. I was left with Agatha for this one. What I wanted to do, and what I didn't end up being able to do, was sleep chaining with Gengar and unleashing lots and lots of damage with Morty and Drifblim. I'm not sure if I didn't have the right parameters. I also don't have Morty at 6x, so maybe that plays into it as well, but I just couldn't get it to work out for me. Finally, what I ended up doing was going for a poison trap strategy, and I used Venusaur in the middle for Razor Leaf, which does poison, Masquerain for trap, and then Meganium for reflect, so reducing special damage, and also when it does its sync move it sets the sun, it gets solar healing from that. Now Agatha is quite a naughty lady on this one, and naughty, because she'll come after you with status conditions. Mischievous will try to use Will of the Wisp on you, so be aware of that. After Gengar sinks, one of its moves is Sludge Bomb, and that can cause poison, so you could try putting either Flameproof or Antitoxin on your main target. I didn't, so I kind of had to suffer through, and I wasn't really doing anything with Meganium by the end of it. Because it's not necessarily, in this strategy, it's not about attacking very much, it's about keeping yourself alive and absorbing that damage while the enemy takes themselves out. And usually you think, well, once Gengar's succumbed to its poison and its trap, it's easy from there. No, because after that comes the freeze section. Dusknoir has Ice Punch, which can freeze you. I think Mischievous has Icy Wind as well, so you could end up frozen. Luckily, they'll only get 2, maybe 3 moves each out of it before they also succumb to the poison trap. It's just irritating. The final thing you want to watch out for is critical hits. The enemy is going to raise their critical hit rate as much as they can, and at times those critical hits are going to do a lot more damage. In this strategy you're relying on the enemy not doing very much to you, but if they're getting a lot of critical hits that's going to mount up after time. By the end of it I only had Venusaur left standing. Now when I did my second run through I swapped Agatha and Bruno around, and that actually worked out a lot better. So for Agatha it was stat lowers do even more, and I took in a team of Xerneas, Mew and Heliolisk. This was similar to last week when it was a bit of a struggle through and I ended up doing sync moves. Beat my record, this time it was 9 sync moves. So Heliolisk reduces accuracy and speed with Mud Slap and Electro Web. Mew does Swift to reduce a random stat every time. Xerneas does Horn Leech, and the World is Vast to keep itself topped up. Now in this one, crit hits and poison were still a bit of an issue. Heliolisk went down to a crit hit. Xerneas had all sorts of problems against the poison. Xerneas has the World is Vast, and you can have a thing on that where it reduces status conditions as well, but you only get so many goes at it, and if Gengar keep using Sludge Bomb on you, then eventually the poison is going to stick and you won't be able to heal your way out of it. So even though Horn Leech can bring back most of its health in one go, eventually it's going to take you down. I was a little bit indulgent with this one. I was trying to bring down all of the stats as much as I could, and I was trying to keep Xerneas at, absolutely full health, but I should have been using Mew's sync move a lot earlier than I did. I just like Swift is a 2-bar move and you can keep using it, whereas if you're using 3 bars every time, it stacks up. You don't necessarily always have a move ready to go. But eventually I did, and it was only Mew left, and he was dodging and ducking and weaving and Blizzard and Thunder and Psychic, and eventually he managed to hit that knockout punch. When I took on Bruno the second time, I went in with a team of Torterra, Empoleon and Alakazam. This was sort of a sync stall strategy. I talked about it either last week or the week before. So you raise all the defensive stats and you have someone with a powerful sync move that you can keep alive, and eventually they're going to be doing so much damage that they take out the other team no matter what. So Barry powers up with no hesitation, and then it's just Bubble Beam or Bubble. All the bubbles. I'm forever blowing bubbles. Pretty bubbles in the air. Torterra raises defense and then uses either Razor Leaf or Seed Bomb depending on how much move gauge is available. It also has Attack Siphon, so for every physical attack move it takes, its own attack goes up, the enemy's attack goes down. And since Bruno is a physical attacker, that's always going to help you. And then when you see it's getting down to its last little slivers of life, you've got Good as New and you're back to the beginning, which always helps. Alakazam is in there to reduce physical damage with Reflect. It can raise crit hit rates as well, which is helpful. It uses Psybeam when it has nothing else to do, and then you've got Sixth Sense in there for whenever one of your teammates is getting low on health as well. And if you get some good move point refreshes and your bar keeps topped up as much as possible, you shouldn't be facing too many difficulties for this one. It's a bit of a slog still, but it only took me 5 sync moves to take down this one, and all of my Pokemon still had more than half the health, so it worked pretty successfully. And finally on to round 5 against Blue with Pidgeot. In this one there's a special attack reduction. The optional condition I chose was a physical attack boost, and that was because I was going in with a rock team. Rock types tend to be physical attackers. I actually found this one the easiest of the week. It's quite similar to Alder last week. He was also weak to rock types, so it was a very similar strategy. I took in a team of Lycanroc, I went with Signasu Blastoise to support him, and I went with Lunatone again. So I've now got Blue up to 6x, so his sync move is even better. It provides that double sync boost in addition to the team endurance. Lunatone raises special defense and also raises both types of attack. In fact, if she could get a grid that allows for move point refreshes of those, she'd be a pretty powerful supporter. I regridded Lycanroc to make it more of a sync nuker this week, and its Stone Edge always puts out a lot of damage, so with the damage it was doing, it was one-shotting the middle. A screenshot there, you can just about make out that it did like 23k worth of damage, which was all good. And so because of that you can use all of your moves up until that sync move targeting the 2 side Pokemon. I don't actually know how powerful they are because they didn't really get to unleash any attacks on me, which shows how effective this strategy was. For the second time around I took in a team of still Lycanroc but also Onix and Kukui with the other form of Lycanroc. I wanted to prove that you don't need the 6x to do this, and that also worked quite well. Onix was tanking. I was thinking that it would also be a healer, but I didn't need to use any potions in the end. Kukui uses Leer to reduce all of the opposing team's defense, and Olivia does pretty much the same role as she did before. And that's another week with 7,500 points. Your mastery increases each and every week. So top of the events this week was the Blissful Bonanza, where you get to beat up on a team of Blissies every day. This was a good opportunity to stock up on lucky cookies and levelling up items. I'm going to be spending my tickets from this event on the level up items. We've just had a Battle Villa, so you get a lot of lucky cookies from there. And speaking of the Battle Villa, I managed to do it with 5 units this week. I wanted to see what Leon could do, and I found a pretty good team in Leon, Skyla with Swanna, and Xerneas and Professor Sycamore. And this is good because of Leon's Striker Pose move, because that gets a refresh every time you do a sync move, and it also has random refreshes throughout the battle. So you never need to worry about, oh, am I using it this battle, or am I going to save it for another battle? So that means you don't have to be using many of the move point refreshes. Xerneas with Horn Leech is keeping itself topped up. Swanna has potions to keep the other 2 topped up as well. So you don't need to use many items, and you can clear it with relative ease. We've still got the time trial events ongoing. There is a bingo that goes along with that, so make sure to check out your bingo squares every once in a while. You should be able to do all of the tasks on it by just playing the game through naturally. You shouldn't have to go too far out of your way to complete it. There are optional speed trials for this one, so there's one where you have to use only steel types, one where you have to use only gym leaders, one where you only have to use Galar trainers. So you need specific 6x units for this one, and I don't have any of them at 6x. I've used my 6x's elsewhere, unfortunately, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do them. You've got to do it in under 1 minute 35, and it's like, well, yeah, I can do that with Red and Charizard, but you're asking me to use units that I haven't invested in too much, so what can you do? If you are going to invest in one, I would suggest it would be Gloria, because she fulfills Steel type and Galarian, and that's 2 out of the 3 at least. They're only for 200 gems, so it's not a huge prize. If it was like 1,000 gems each, then maybe I'd be investing a bit more, but for this one it's like, investment would be up here, rewards would be here-ish. So you've also got the special weather episodes events. That's at the moment just 1 battle every day. In a couple of weeks' time there's going to be stuff that goes along with it, but at the moment you're doing 1 battle a day to stock up on tickets. I would say the biggest event to land has been the Father or Foe event. I've seen a lot of very positive feedback for the storyline on that one. It didn't affect me too much because I'm not invested in like N as a character. I didn't play the Pokemon game that had him as the protagonist in it. But I did like that it was realistic. It wasn't like, oh, he did terrible things to him as a child, but now he loves him again. It's like he gave him a chance, and then he was still the person that everyone thought that he was. And I thought that was quite edgy for a Pokemon game, because they tend to end up with everyone's amazing if you look deep enough. So the battles for this one aren't too difficult. There's a lot of good rewards in there as well. And at the end of it, you get a Curium. That's good. That's nice. There's also some decent options for your bonus pairs, so you don't necessarily need to go out and buy lots and lots of units to get reward boosts for it. So Azelf has come back to the Legendary Arena. I'll go through that a bit more next week, and if anything else comes up with the weather event, then I'll go through that too. So thank you for joining me on the week that was. I wish you good luck for the week that will be next week. But you're well past the 90-second mark at this point, so hopefully you found something that you liked and enjoyed. If you did, maybe you can subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter for other things that you might like or enjoy. But thank you very much for watching this video, and goodbye.